It started with the click. The instruments didn't just fail, they vanished. The cockpit plunged into the abyss. No horizon, no altitude, just the strobe light horror of lightning illuminating faces twisted into silent screams. The storm grabbed the plane like a toy and spiked it downward. Negative G's lifted stomachs into throats. The fuselage groaned, a metallic shriek of rivets popping and aluminum tearing. Beth, the face the color of old ash, didn't squeal. She roared, a primal command cutting through the chaos.
Brace! Heads down! Stay down!
The cabin was a symphony of terror. Prayers, sobbing, the sound of a grown man calling for his mother. Outside, they were falling like a stone. Inside, time stretched like taffy. Kin watched a single tear crawl down the actress's cheek. He saw the flight attendant's hair float up in slow motion from the jolts, and pilots fighting a dead stick, wrestling a 70-ton corpse falling from the sky. The roar of the wind was deafening, but somehow muffled, like hearing your own death from underwater. Then the plane punched through the cloud deck. Below them wasn't a runway, it was a black ocean of angry green. They were rushing up to meet him like a wall of spears. First contact, the canopy. Crack, 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 like 1,000 hammers hitting the hull. Branches whipped the metal, shattering windows, turning the dark into a kaleidoscope of sparks and leaves. Kin saw a suitcase float past his head. Then, the earth. It wasn't a crash. It was an erasure, a universe-ending crunch. The world folding, lungs collapsed, darkness swallowed them whole. First came the white. Not the sun, not a lamp. It was a ghost image. A searing, jagged purple blotch burned right onto a retinas, glowing neon against the blackness, like when you stare at a flashbulb too long and it gets stuck in your skull. Lucia squeezed her eyelids shut, but the light didn't go away. It pulsed behind her eyes, throbbing in time with the splitting pain in her temples.
Cut the strobe,
waving a weak hand at the darkness.
I'm seeing spots, you idiots. Too much backlight.
Her voice was wrecked, dry as old paper. No one answered. No, sorry, Miss Lucia. No assistant running over with water. Just the hissing of rain hitting hot wreckage. Shh. And the ping, ping, ping of cooling metal contracting in the mud. She forced her eyes open. The spotlight faded, dissolving into the crushing, suffocating darkness of the jungle. Then, flash, real lightning tore the sky open. For a split second, the jungle lit up in stark blue-white contrast. Twisted vines like snakes, shattered trees looking like broken bones. It wasn't a set. The smell hit her next. Not expensive catering and coffee. Jet fuel, wet rot, and the copper tang of blood. Lucia pushed herself up. Her hand sank into warm slime. Real mud, not the sterile peat moss from the prop department. She looked at her fingernails in the next flash of lightning, caked with black grit and blood. Her heart wasn't beating for a scene. It was hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. 10 feet away, the stewardess was crawling through the debris, looking like a zombie from a B-movie. Lucia stood up, swaying. Rain plastered her hair to her face, cold and relentless. Her instinct, 20 years of living inside a lens, screamed at her to find her mark, to wait for the line. But there were no lines, no script, no
Action!
Dios mío.
she whispered, the realization hitting her harder than the crash itself.
Esto no es una película.
A twig snapped behind her. Lucia whipped around. No makeup, no filter, no second take. Just pure, unadulterated fear.
Lights, camera, action.
The dressing room air was thick enough to chew on, a cocktail of expensive perfume and stale cigarette smoke. A typical Hollywood holding cell for those who hadn't quite launched but had already tasted the appetizers at the banquet of success. Lucy, 32, though looking years younger, Brazilian blood running hot, lips tasting of ocean salt and the dust of Santa Monica Boulevard. Her movies brought in box office returns and envy in equal measure. Her skin, usually the color of warm cocoa and smooth as youth itself, had gone ashen. Even the blush couldn't hide the tremor. Jet black hair cascaded over her shoulders, masking a chin that wouldn't stop quivering. Her face, the one the camera didn't just love but worshipped. An elegant, straight nose, pure harmony of lines, long eyelashes, an open gaze. But the tension was breaking through. Nostrils flared slightly, a subtle tell. Lips like ripe fruit, now parched, cracked. And her eyes, usually steel gray, cold, looking at you like you were a line item in a budget. But today, fog, fear, a glitch in the system. When she opened her eyes, the actress was gone. Only the survivor was left. The instinct kicked in. She wasn't waiting for the director to yell, "Cut!" anymore. She was directing her own picture now. No script, no second takes, just raw survival. But that realization was still circling the airport of her mind, waiting to land. She knew time in Hollywood wasn't water, it was acid. It ate through anyone who missed their cue. With every movie, her stock price went up. Lucy knew how to stand in the spotlight. It didn't take effort. She'd just walk into a room and suddenly men spoke louder, laughed harder, stared longer. She had the full package, the looks, the charm, the brains, the timing. But the killer app? The ability to stay herself even when the world tried to turn her into a sequel of someone else. Fans? Legions. Men, from cabbies to CEOs, producers to senators, saw her as a trophy, a limited edition collectible. She'd navigated dozens of relationships structured like market deals, mergers, acquisitions, strategic alliances. They called it love. Lucy called it marketing. In her world, even a kiss had a price tag. She worked like a dog. Her personal life dissolved into call sheets, negotiations, red eyes. Sometimes she skirted the edge of exhaustion, but she never let it show. Lucy knew the rules. Fatigue smells like weakness, and in this town, weakness costs more than a mistake. Her success was a carefully engineered project, and the architect was Mother. A strict, composed woman who knew the exchange rate of words and people. The woman who saw her daughter not as a child, but as raw, uncut diamond. Mother became her right hand, her consigliere, the only person she trusted blindly. A ruthless filter cutting out the noise. Mother was her fortress and her contract with destiny. All this required sacrifices. The biggest one was history. Lucy, like her mother, treated her father's memory like a bad investment, a chapter redacted from the family ledger. His name was crossed out like a rounding error in a perfect equation. And yet, deep down, behind the cold grace and the rehearsed sound bites, something human remained. Maybe regret, or maybe just the memory of what it felt like to be a woman, not a brand. And then, blackout, drop, chaos.
The actress was mumbling to herself, manic, eyes wide and unseeing.
No, you don't get it. They're already en route. Fire, rescue, the whole 9 yards. They know we went down. It's all good. They'll be here. Put out the fire, get us out, feed us, wrap us in blankets.
She was speaking fast, tripping over her own tongue.
They're bringing the dogs, the K9 units, the ones that sniff out people on the rubble. They'll find us. Meu Deus, eles têm que nos encontrar. They have to find us. We aren't the first ones. It's the 21st century, not the Stone Age. They have to. I have a cat at home. My cat is alone. Who's going to feed the damn cat?